Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we will see Canto1 Chapter9 of Bhagavatham with the title The Passing Away of Bhismadeva in the Presence of Lord Krishna. So Sutta Muni, he said that Yudhishtthira was so filled with grief because he had killed so many people on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, also called as Vinashana. So Lord Krishna advised Yudhishtthira to go and meet Bhismacharya, who was lying on a bed of arrows on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So Yudhishtthira, along with his brothers, Lord Krishna and sages like Vyasa, they travelled from Hastinapura to the battlefield of Kurukshetra to meet Bhismacharya. So Bhismacharya was lying on a bed of arrows on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Even in that state, he was filled with divine aura. Other sages like Narada Muni, Parashurama and Shuka Muni and many others had also assembled there. So when he saw all of them, he worshipped them with folded hands. And when he saw Yudhishtthira and his brothers, his eyes were filled with tears. And he said that what all you had to undergo, you and your mother, Kunti Devi, you all had to undergo so much. In spite of being such good souls, you followed Dharma, you had Lord Krishna along with you, but in spite of all that, you had to undergo so much of sufferings. It's not your fault, but we all are controlled by the time factor, which is stated as Sarvam Kalakritam Manye. Sarvam meaning all, Kalakritam, done by time, Manye meaning I think. Then Bhismacharya looked at Lord Krishna, and then he looked at Yudhishtthira and he asked him, do you know who he is? He is the Supreme Lord, but he behaves like he is just one among us, and he does this by the power of Maya, which is actually illusion. So Yudhishtthira, you had the Supreme Lord along with you, and you saw him as your cousin, you saw him as a messenger, you saw him as your friend, as a charioteer, like as Parthasarathi, as charioteer to Arjuna. You saw like all this, but do you know he is the Supreme Lord? When he heard this, like when Yudhishtthira heard this, already Yudhishtthira was sad, but when he heard this, he was filled with grief and he also guilt. And he said like, only if the Lord had told me that he is the Supreme Being. To which Bhismacharya said that it is not your fault, Yudhishtthira. The Lord views everyone and everything with an equal vision, which is stated as Samam Charantam Sarvatra, and he has no ego. The Lord is so kind that he has come to see me. Like I am awaiting death and he has come to see me, and it is said that when the soul of a body departs, when it is time for the soul to depart, either we should listen to the names of the Lord or meditating on him, the soul becomes free from the continuous cycle of birth and death and becomes one with the Lord. So under the instruction of Lord Krishna, Yudhishtthira asked Bhismacharya about dharma and the duties of a king. Bhismacharya energetically tutored Yudhishtthira for many days about various topics. Since Bhismacharya tutored Yudhishtthira like an acharya, acharya meaning teacher, Bhismadeva was addressed as Bhismacharya. Till then he was addressed as Bhismadeva. So this continued, and the conversation between Bhismacharya and Yudhishtthira led to Vishnu Sahasranamam, which is the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. When the Uttarayana period arrived, that is, when the sun moves from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, it is said to be a very auspicious time for the soul to depart the body. So when that time arrived, Bhismacharya, he became very silent. He stopped tutoring Yudhishtthira and he just looked at Lord Krishna, who was standing in front of him in glittering jewelry, wearing yellow dress, yellow garments. And Bhismacharya was just looking at Lord Krishna, at his cool face, and he instantly composed the Bhishma Stuti, which is praises by Bhishma to Lord Krishna. And since he composed it before his death, it is referred to as Antima Smaranam. Antima meaning end. So when we close our eyes and when we listen to Bhishma Stuti, we can feel the true love which Bhismacharya had for Lord Krishna. In most of the verses in Bhishma Stuti, Bhishmacharya, he mentioned that, let my mind be directed towards you, Krishna. And he begins the stuti by offering his mind, which is devoid of all worldly desires. He offers such a mind to Lord Krishna. Then he mentioned Lord Krishna as the most beautiful person in all the three worlds. And the three worlds appear beautiful to us, which is stated as Tribhuvana Kamanam. Because of Lord Krishna's grace, it appears beautiful. He then compared the Lord's bluish color of the body to the Tamala tree, stated as Tamala Varnam, and his yellow garments he compared it to the golden rays of the sun, and his beautiful lotus-like face, and the curly wavy hair which he has, which is black in color, and his body which is covered in sandalwood paste, and the one who is the friend of Vijaya. Vijaya here refers to Arjuna. It is another name for him. So it is mentioned as Vijaya Sakhe. Saka meaning friend, O friend of Arjuna. And he concluded this verse by saying, let my full attention be guided towards you, Krishna. He then addressed Lord Krishna as Partha Sarathi. Partha is another name for Arjuna. Sarathi meaning charioteer. So Lord Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna in the epic battle. So on the battlefield, Krishna, when you rode the horses, the dust from the hoofs of the horses settled on your face and your hair. Even that looked beautiful. The sweat on your face, it looked like pearls which decorated your face. So even the sweat looked beautiful on your face, which is stated as Shramavarya Alankrita. It decorated. And you looked so handsome even then. So my arrows which I shot at you broke your armor. Let my mind go towards you, Krishna. Then, when the Mahabharata war began, Arjuna asked you to place the chariot in between the Kaurava and the Pandava army. But the moment you looked at the Kaurava army, you took all their lives away. And Arjuna actually shot his arrows at the lifeless bodies. But still, you wanted to give credit to Arjuna. So let my mind be fixed on that Parthasarathi. When Arjuna saw the Kaurava army, he was so frightened that the bow slipped from his hand. So Lord Krishna instilled confidence in Arjuna and by advising him, and this led to Bhagavad Gita. So Bhismacharya said that let my mind be attracted towards the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhismacharya then mentioned that the Lord was extremely kind towards him because the Lord broke his promise so that Bhismacharya looked victorious in front of Duryodhana and his army. So once Duryodhana, he shouted at Bhismacharya because he felt that Bhismacharya was secretly, he was loving the Pandavas. So Bhismacharya took it on himself that next day he was going to kill the Pandavas. The moment he thought this, Krishna knew it, and he brought Draupadi to the camp of Bhismacharya early in the morning. So it was very dark. So Bhismacharya didn't know who she was, but he blessed her that, have a long married life. Then when Bhismacharya came to know that it was Lord Krishna who was behind it, he made a promise that I will make Lord Krishna break his promise. So when the war began and Bhismacharya, he shot many arrows at Arjuna, trying to hurt him. So Lord Krishna became so angry that he took the wheel of the chariot as a weapon. He broke the promise. He took the wheel of the chariot and he came towards Bhismacharya in a fierce way, like a lion trying to kill an elephant. And in this process, he just removed his upper garment and left it on the chariot. And it is said that he ran so fiercely that even Bhumi Devi trembled at what she saw. Then Bhismacharya mentioned that the arrows shot by Bhismacharya towards Krishna broke his armor and it pierced his body. So Krishna's body was, flowing of blood. And Arjuna tried to stop Lord Krishna because he didn't want Krishna to break his promise of not lifting a weapon. But in spite of that, Krishna, you broke the promise so that I look victorious. So let me seek shelter in Krishna. And just like a householder protects his family, you protected and took care of Arjuna's chariot. And you look so handsome that you had a whip in your right hand and a rope in your left hand, which you used to control the horses. And I wish to merge in this beautiful form of Parthasarathi. Then he speaks about the gopis. So he said that the gopis were attracted to the sweet smile, stated as Valgu Hasa, of Krishna, and the gopis are said to be very devoted to Lord Krishna, and they imitated Lord Krishna's dance moves in the Rasa Leela. So Bhismacharya said that though I am a yogi, if I am given a next birth, I want to be born as a gopi to experience true devotion towards you, Krishna. Then, in the Rajasuya Yajnam of Yudhishtthira, Lord Krishna was chosen as the first person to be worshipped. Like Pratama Puja had to be done to Lord Krishna, and this happened in the presence of Bhismacharya. So Bhismacharya said that he is so honored that that powerful Krishna is standing in front of him. In the final verse, Bhismacharya said that I have merged in Lord Krishna, and the soul departed. All present there fell silent, and the demigods from heaven, they showered flowers to honor Bhismacharya. Yudhishtthira performed the final rites for Bhismacharya. And all the munis present there, they glorified Lord Krishna and they returned back to their hermitages. Yudhishtthira, along with Krishna, they returned back to Hastinapura, where Yudhishtthira had to console Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, and then he ruled the city of Hastinapura by the knowledge given to him by Bhismacharya and Lord Krishna. So what can we learn from this chapter? The importance of one's duty, sacrifices we have to undergo in order to reach our goal, and how the Lord values his devotees and their promises.